All right, so welcome back for another deep dive.
Always fun.
Today we're looking at putting together a perfect grow environment for cannabis.
Sounds great.
We've got excerpts here from 3 different books,
Okay.
a beginner's guide, something from a gardener's perspective, and then a full-on grow Bible.
Nice.
So we're going to be going through all of those
Looking forward to.
to pull out the best information for you guys.
Yeah.
So whether you're thinking indoors or outdoors, we should be able to give you guys the essentials to create that thriving grow environment.
Yeah.
Now, the beginner's guide starts off with this really cool point about why growing your own is so rewarding.
Okay.
And it comes down to control and quality.
Those are big ones. Yeah.
So knowing exactly what went into your plants,
Right.
you're in charge of the soil, the nutrients, everything.
Every step of the way.
Yeah. And in the end, you get a really top-shelf product.
Definitely.
It's like a farm-to-table experience. But for cannabis,
I like that.
you're not just the consumer anymore.
right.
You're the creator.
Stack.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about the plants.
Good idea.
Indica versus sativa.
This
Classic cannabis dilemma.
the age-old question.
Right.
And the beginner's guide breaks it down really well.
Okay.
Talks about the differences.
It's not just the leaf shape.
No, it's not just the leaf shape.
It's the chemical compounds.
Exact.
So THC and CBD.
Right.
Now, for any listeners out there that maybe aren't so familiar with those,
Sure.
can you give us a little rundown?
Of course. So THC is the psychoactive component.
Okay.
That's what gives you the high.
Right.
Now, CBD, on the other hand,
Yeah.
that's known for its soothing effects
Okay.
and its therapeutic benefits.
Got it.
And it's interesting, the Grow Bible, the more advanced book, actually mentions that some expert growers out there are manipulating the THC-CBD ratio
Wow.
in their plants to really fine-tune those effects.
Interesting. So they're crafting very specific.
Very personalized cannabis experiences.
Wow. So there's so much more to this than I think I realized.
Yeah, you can get really, really deep into it.
Okay. So knowing the difference between indica and sativa,
Right.
obviously that's really important for choosing the right seeds.
Absolutely.
So do these books give any recommendations?
Oh, yeah. The beginner's guide has this great chart
Okay.
that breaks down popular cultivars
Cool.
based on the effect that you're going for.
Oh, nice.
So if you're looking for something that's really energizing, focus boosting,
Yeah.
you might think about a sativa dominant strain like Jack Herer.
Got it.
But if you're looking for relaxation and stress relief, then an indica dominant strain like Bubba Kush might be a better fit.
So you're matching it to your needs.
Exactly, like picking out your coffee in the morning.
Right, exactly.
You have your preferences.
I like that.
It all depends.
All right, so speaking of choosing, let's talk about starting the seeds.
All right.
Now, the beginner's guide mentions this technique,
Oh, yeah.
germinating seeds in your mouth.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So the warmth and the moisture,
It kickstarts the germination process.
so you're holding the seeds in your mouth.
Gently, yeah, for a minute.
Wow, that's so interesting.
And then, plant them in little pots with a good organic mix.
Okay.
And the Grow Bible, the more advanced book, mentions that some, more traditional cultures believe that method imbues the plants with, kind of positive energy from the grower.
Interesting. It's like a little head start
It is. It's pretty fascinating.
with a bit of human magic.
Yeah.
Okay, so our seeds have sprouted. We've got these tiny seedlings reaching for the light.
They're ready.
What's the next step in creating this perfect environment for them?
Well, light's really important,
Okay,
especially in this early stage.
got it.
The beginner's guide recommends using a low-intensity grow light
Makes sense.
just to mimic, that gentle sunlight.
We don't want to blast them with too much right away.
No, you got to introduce them to the world.
Right, slowly.
Slowly.
So as they grow, their needs are going to change.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The cannabis gardener now talks a lot about, reading your plants.
Oh, it's like a whole language.
Right, understanding their cues.
It is.
So, for example, if you're seeing those lower leaves starting to yellow,
Oh.
that could be a sign that they're running out of nitrogen
Oh, yeah.
and they need a bigger pot.
Exactly.
Like they're talking to us.
That really is. They're sending you messages.
So when we transplant them,
Right.
what kind of soil we're looking for?
Well, both the beginner's guide and the cannabis gardener
Yeah.
are all about creating that vibrant soil ecosystem.
Okay.
So it's not just dirt.
Right.
It's, this blend of nutrients, organic matter, and beneficial microorganisms.
It's creating a tiny, thriving world.
It is. It's like a miniature world.
And the Grow Bible takes this concept
Oh, yeah.
even further,
Yeah,
right?
it takes it to the next level.
It talks about how different types of soil can influence the flavor and the aroma.
Really, the final product?
They have a section on living soil.
That's cool.
So it's practically breathing
Yeah.
this soil.
It's alive, it's active.
It's amazing.
It really is. So much going on.
Okay, I'm hooked on this whole grow environment concept.
So sad.
We're just getting
They're
started.
just scratching the surface.
There's so much more to learn.
Oh, yeah. Pruning, training, manipulating light and airflow.
So listeners, stay tuned
Get ready.
because we're going to dive even deeper into this world of cannabis cultivation.
Absolutely. Welcome back to our perfect cannabis grow environment deep dive.
We're back.
In the last part, we were talking about soil, but let's kind of broaden our horizons here a little bit
Okay.
and think about the overall garden design,
Okay.
especially for those growing outdoors.
Yeah, so I'm picturing these big, sprawling cannabis fields
Yeah,
bathed in sunshine.
exactly.
But even if we're working with a smaller space,
Sure.
design still plays a big role, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The cannabis gardener really stresses that it's all about working with what you've got.
Gotcha.
So observe the natural features of your space.
So like what?
The sunlight patterns, the wind direction, maybe even those shady nooks.
Yeah.
And then, position your plants accordingly.
So it's almost like we're playing chess with nature a little bit.
It is.
Using
yes.
those elements to our advantage.
Exactly. And it's not just for aesthetics.
Right.
You're maximizing sunlight, you're maximizing airflow,
Right.
protection from the elements.
So it really is about observation and understanding those natural rhythms.
It really is.
Even if you're dealing with, a smaller space.
Right, like a balcony, a patio.
Sure.
You can still create this thriving microenvironment.
Okay, and the cannabis gardener talks about container gardening.
Yeah, a whole section on that.
That sounds perfect for those of us with limited space.
Absolutely.
Plus, you have so much control over the soil and nutrients.
Right. You're kind of creating your own little world.
What are some things we need to think about when choosing containers?
Well, drainage is key.
Okay.
Cannabis plants, they don't like soggy roots.
Right, they need to breathe.
So the cannabis gardener suggests using pots with plenty of drainage holes
Right?
and then avoid using heavy compact soil,
Right.
that traps moisture.
And what about the material of the pot?
Good question. So you see these fabric pots everywhere these days.
Yeah, they're popping up everywhere.
And the Grow Bible actually compares different pot materials.
Okay.
And it turns out fabric pots allow for better airflow to the roots, which can lead to healthier plants.
So there's advantages there.
There are, but
There's always a but.
they also dry out faster.
Okay.
So you have to be mindful of your watering schedule.
So pros and cons to each.
Exactly.
You got to find the right balance for your setup.
Find what works for you.
Okay, now let's go back to this companion planting idea.
Yeah, this is a fun one.
I'm really intrigued by this.
Yeah, the cannabis gardener goes deep into it.
Okay.
It's all about creating these symbiotic relationships. Certain plants can actually enhance the growth and health of our cannabis.
You had me intrigued when you mentioned sweet peas.
Yeah.
How do those benefit the cannabis?
Well, besides adding some beauty, some fragrance to the garden,
Sure.
sweet peas act as a natural trellis.
Oh,
So they support the plants as they grow taller.
makes sense.
Plus, they attract these beneficial insects that can help with pest control
Gotcha.
and even pollination.
So it's a win-win situation.
It is.
A beautiful garden and a thriving ecosystem.
Absolutely.
What other companion plants work well with cannabis?
So the cannabis gardener recommends a few yarrows
Yeah.
that attracts ladybugs.
Oh.
And ladybugs, of course, they love to munch on aphids,
Right.
which are a common cannabis pest.
Right.
Then there's dill
Okay.
that attracts predatory wasps.
Interesting.
And those wasps, they help control spider mites.
Okay.
And get this.
Yeah.
The Grow Bible mentions a study
Oh.
where basil planted near cannabis actually increased the essential oil production.
Really?
Yeah, so you end up with a more potent and flavorful final product.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
It is. These companion plants are giving our cannabis a secret boost.
I love that idea.
It's pretty cool.
Okay, so we've got our containers,
Right.
our companion plants.
Got our design,
Now let's talk about the foundation of it all,
the soil,
the soil.
and the cannabis gardener, it goes beyond recipes here.
Huh.
It emphasizes understanding the soil as this living ecosystem.
Right, right.
It's teeming with microorganisms,
Mhm.
fungi, even tiny insects.
So we're cultivating this whole world beneath our feet.
We are. It's amazing.
What are some practical tips for keeping that soil ecosystem healthy?
Well, both the beginner's guide and the cannabis gardener
Okay.
really emphasize organic gardening practices.
Yeah.
So avoiding synthetic fertilizers, avoiding pesticides.
Right, because those can mess with the balance.
Exactly. It's all about working with nature.
Working with nature, not against it. What are some natural ways that we can enrich the soil?
Well, compost.
Oh,
Compost is your friend.
okay.
The cannabis gardener provides this simple compost recipe
Okay.
using kitchen scraps, yard waste.
Easy enough.
Easy peasy. And then
Yeah.
if you want to get a little fancy,
All right.
the Girl Bible has a recipe for compost tea.
Compost tea. Interesting.
It's basically this nutrient-packed liquid
Okay.
that you can use to water your plants.
So we're not just nurturing the plants, we're
No.
nurturing the soil.
We are. It's all connected.
And the cannabis gardener even talks about this idea of
Yeah.
creating this symbiotic relationship with your garden.
You're constantly observing, learning, adapting.
We're becoming stewards of this little ecosystem,
Exactly.
constantly fine-tuning it.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
There's always something new to learn, something new to try.
Always new discoveries
Always.
in this world of cannabis cultivation.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm curious,
Yeah.
what are some of the challenges that we might face along the way?
Especially when it comes to, pests and diseases.
Yeah, that's the reality of it, right?
Right.
Even with the most, carefully curated grow environment,
Yeah.
those unwelcome visitors,
Rex pests.
they could still make an appearance?
They always seem to find a way.
They do, but luckily for us,
Yeah.
the Cannabis Gardener and the Beginner's Guide,
Yeah?
they offer a lot of valuable insights into identifying these pests,
Oh.
preventing them, and even treating them.
So we've got our first aid kit ready to go.
We do.
What are some common culprits that we should be looking out for? Okay, so we are back
Back again.
for the final part of our deep dive.
It's gone by fast.
I know, right into creating the best cannabis grow environment. We've talked about soil,
Yeah.
companion planting,
They're good.
even, a little bit of garden feng shui.
Why not?
But now I'm ready to step inside
Okay.
and explore the world of indoor growing.
All right, let's go inside.
The Cannabis Grow Bible is our guide here.
Yeah, it's a good one for that. It's like having a blueprint for building this indoor cannabis sanctuary.
You can get super detailed with it.
I'm picturing a high-tech setup.
All the bells and whistles.
But before we get ahead of ourselves,
Right.
what are the fundamentals here?
Okay, so we're essentially recreating nature,
Okay.
but with our own personal touch.
So what are the main things we need to think about?
All right, so the Cannabis Grow Bible really emphasizes these four things.
Okay.
Temperature, humidity, airflow, and light.
Those are big ones for sure.
Those are your four key elements
Got it.
to create in that thriving indoor ecosystem.
Okay, so let's break those down one by one.
Right.
Starting with temperature.
Okay.
What's that sweet spot for our cannabis plants?
So they recommend keeping it between 70 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit during the day. And then at night,
Mhm.
you want to drop it a little bit,
Uh-huh.
mimicking those natural temperature fluctuations.
So just like they would experience outside.
Exactly.
Gotcha. So we're not just blasting them with constant heat.
No, you want to give them a little variation.
What about humidity?
Okay, so humidity is important for transpiration.
Now, remind me, what is transpiration again?
So that's how plants essentially breathe
Okay.
and regulate their temperature.
Okay.
The Grow Bible suggests aiming for a relative humidity
Okay.
of between 40 and 60%.
Okay, so not too humid.
No, you don't want mold growth.
Right, but enough that they're happy.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of breathing,
Right.
how do we make sure we've got good airflow in an enclosed space?
Good question. So air circulation is key.
Oh, yeah.
We don't want stagnant air.
That can lead to problems.
Exactly. So use fans
Okay.
to create a gentle breeze.
Okay. Yeah.
Keep that air moving. That'll help maintain an even temperature
And a good humidity.
throughout the space.
It's like we're creating that perfect little microclimate.
We are?
Okay, so temperature, humidity, airflow.
Mhm.
Now, what about the most essential element?
The big one.
Light
Light, yeah. Cannabis Grow Bible really goes all in on the science of light. I bet.
for indoor cultivation.
So many options.
Oh, yeah, different types of grow lights,
Yeah.
optimal spectrum, intensity.
So break it down for me. What are some of the most popular options out there?
Okay, so you've got your classic fluorescent lights.
Oh,
Those are pretty affordable,
right.
energy efficient,
Mm,
but they might not provide enough intensity.
for flowers.
Exactly.
Okay, what else?
Then you've got your HID lights,
HID, what does that stand for?
high-intensity discharge lamps,
Okay.
and those come in two main types.
Right.
You've got metal halide,
Mm-hmm.
which is good for vegetative growth,
Got it.
and then high-pressure sodium.
Okay.
That's for flowering.
So it's like having different light bulbs for different moods.
I like that analogy.
Right.
Yes.
But those HID lights, they can get really hot, right?
They can, and that's where LED lights have really come in.
LEDs are everywhere these days.
They are, and for good reason.
Okay.
They're more energy efficient, they generate less heat.
And they offer this wider spectrum of light.
So you can really fine-tune it.
You can to the plant's specific needs.
Wow. So much to consider when it comes to lighting.
It's a whole world in itself.
Okay, so what about feeding our indoor plants?
All right, so they don't necessarily need a different diet
Okay.
than their outdoor counterparts,
Okay.
but we do need to be more precise with them.
Okay, Jeff.
So the Cannabis Grow Bible has this whole section on nutrient solutions.
Okay.
And it talks about choosing the right nutrients, understanding the NPK ratio.
Okay, remind me what NPK stands for.
Nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium.
Okay.
Those are the 3 essential nutrients
Got it.
for healthy plant growth.
So that's their vitamins and minerals.
Exactly.
And that ratio, I imagine it changes depending on the stage of growth.
It does. The Grow Bible gives specific recommendations for each stage.
Oh, cool.
Seedling, vegetative growth, flowering.
So we're like cannabis nutritionists.
We're crafting the perfect diet.
Optimal growth.
And potency.
Now, the Grow Bible also mentions this thing called hydroponics.
Oh, yeah, that's getting popular.
What is that all about?
So that's growing plants without soil.
No soil, wow.
Instead, you use this nutrient-rich water solution.
So just water and nutrients.
Pretty much.
That sounds very futuristic.
It is. It's pretty cool.
What are some things to think about if you're considering going hydroponic?
Okay, so there are different hydroponic systems.
Okay.
Each has its own, pros and cons.
Sure.
The Grow Bible breaks it down really well.
Okay.
It covers everything from simple deep water culture to more complex systems like ebb and flow and nutrient film technique.
Wow, there's so much to learn.
There is.
It's like choosing your own hydroponic adventure.
It is. It is.
But no matter what system you choose,
Right.
hydroponics requires a lot of attention to detail.
It does. You're constantly monitoring
So pH levels.
the nutrient concentrations, water temperature.
It's really taking control to the next level.
It is. You're in charge of everything.
But even in this perfect little indoor setup,
Right.
we still have to be on guard for those pests and diseases.
Yeah, unfortunately, they can still pop up.
They always find a way.
They do, but don't worry.
Okay.
The Grow Bible has got us covered.
All right.
It's got a whole guide to identifying, preventing, and treating.
Common indoor cannabis culprits.
Exactly.
So what are some things we can do to prevent these pests?
Okay, so cleanliness is key.
Of course.
So sanitize your equipment,
Okay.
remove debris,
Right.
quarantine new plants.
It's like we're creating this little biosecure bubble.
Exactly.
Okay. And if they do manage to slip through the cracks,
Yeah, it happens.
what are our treatment options?
So the Grow Bible takes a multi-pronged approach, combination of preventative measures,
Right.
organic pesticides if needed,
Okay.
and even, calling in the beneficial insects.
It's like we're building an army
Yeah.
to protect our cannabis kingdom.
Exactly.
So whether we're talking indoor or outdoor,
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like successful growing comes down to this constant observation.
It does.
Learning, adapting
It's a journey.
to create that perfect environment.
Absolutely.
I have learned so much
Me too. It's fascinating.
from basic soil science to high-tech indoor setups.
Yeah, it's a whole world.
I feel like I have a whole new appreciation for this.
For sure.
It's both an art and a science.
It really is.
And to all our listeners out there,
Yeah.
whether you're just starting out,
Or you're a seasoned pro.
remember, embrace the process.
Enjoy the journey.
Have fun growing.
That's the most important part.